Chapter 13 For the Love of a Man. When John Thornton froze his feet in the previous December, his partners had made him comfortable and left him to get well. He was still limping slightly at the time he rescued Buck, but with the continued warm weather, even the slight limp left him. And here, lying by the riverbank, through the long spring days, Buck slowly won back his strength. Buck waxed lazy as his wounds healed. His muscles swelled out, and the flesh came back to cover his bones. For that matter, they were all loafing. Buck, John Thornton, and Skeet and Nig, waiting for the raft to come that was to carry them down to Dawson. Skeet was a little Irish setter, who early made friends with Buck. As a mother cat washes her kittens, so she washed and cleansed Buck's wounds. Nig, equally friendly, though less demonstrative, was a huge black dog, half bloodhound and half deerhound, with eyes that laughed and a boundless good nature. To Buck's surprise, these dogs manifested no jealousy toward him. They seemed to share the kindliness and largeness of John Thornton. Love, genuine passionate love, was his for the first time. This he had never experienced at Judge Miller's, down in the sun-kissed Santa Clara Valley. With the judge's sons hunting and tramping, it had been a working partnership. With the judge's grandsons, a sort of pompous guardianship. And with the judge himself, a stately and dignified friendship. But love that was
feverish
and burning, that was adoration, that was madness. It had taken John Thornton to arouse. This man had saved his life, which was something, but further, he was the ideal master. Other men saw to the welfare of their dogs from a sense of duty and business expediency. He saw to the welfare of his as if they were his own children, but knew no greater joy than that rough embrace and the sound of murmured oaths. And at each jerk back and forth, it seemed that his heart would be shaken out of his body, so great was its ecstasy. And when released, he sprang to his feet, his mouth laughing, his eyes eloquent, his throat vibrant with unuttered sound, and in that fashion remained without movement. John Thornton would reverently exclaim,
"God, you can all but speak."
Buck had a trick of love expression that was akin to hurt. He would often seize Thornton's hand in his mouth and close so fiercely that the flesh bore the impress of his teeth for some time afterward. And as Buck understood the oaths to be love words, so the man understood this feigned bite for a caress. For a long time after his rescue, Buck did not like Thornton to get out of his sight. From the moment he left the tent to when he entered it again, Buck would follow at his heels. His transient masters, since he had come into the Northland, had bred in him a fear that no master could be permanent. Even in the night, in his dreams, he was haunted by this fear. But, in spite of this great love he bore John Thornton, the strain of the primitive remained alive and active. Faithfulness and devotion, things born of fire and roof, were his. Yet he retained his wildness. His face and body were scored by the teeth of many dogs, and he fought as fiercely as ever, and more shrewdly. Skeet and Nig were too good-natured for quarreling. Besides, they belonged to John Thornton. He was older than the days he had seen, and the breaths he had drawn. He sat by John Thornton's fire, a broad-breasted dog, white-fanged and long-furred. But behind him were the shades of all manners of dogs, half-wolves and wild wolves, urgent and prompting, tasting the savor of the meat he ate, thirsting for the water he drank, and scenting the wind with him. So peremptorily did these shades beckon him, that each day mankind and the claims of mankind slipped farther from him. Deep in the forest, a call was sounding, and he felt compelled to turn his back upon the fire and the beaten earth around it, and to plunge into the forest he knew not where or why. But as often as he gained the soft unbroken earth and the green shade, the love for John Thornton drew him back to the fire again. Thornton alone held him. The rest of mankind was as nothing. When Thornton's partners, Hans and Pete, arrived on the long-expected raft, Buck refused to notice them till he learned they were close to Thornton. For Thornton, however, his love seemed to grow and grow. He, alone among men, could put a pack upon Buck's back in the summer traveling. Nothing was too great for Buck to do when Thornton commanded.